You're nothing but a barren woman wasting my son's time." The words cut through the Sunday dinner table like a knife. Patricia Thornton, my mother-in-law, dabbed her lips with a napkin as if she just commented on the weather. Around us, the extended family froze mid-bite. My husband Derek's hand found mine under the table, but I didn't squeeze back. Instead, I smiled. A small, calm smile that made Patricia's eyes narrow with confusion. "Actually, Patricia," I said softly, "I have news to share." I reached into my purse and pulled out a sealed envelope, placing it gently beside her plate. "What's this?" she demanded, her triumphant expression faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "But first, let me finish my dinner. The lamb is delicious." Derek's sister Monica gasped. His father Franklin looked up from his plate with interest. Patricia stared at the envelope like it might bite her. I took another bite of my food, savoring both the meal and the moment I'd been planning for 3 months. "My name is Jade Winters, and I'm 32 years old. Until 3 minutes ago, I had been playing the role of the patient daughter-in-law perfectly. For 5 years, I'd endured Patricia's comments about my worth being tied to my ability to produce grandchildren. I'd smiled through her suggestions that Derek find someone more suitable. I'd ignored her pointed remarks about my career as a research biologist taking time away from family planning. Derek and I had been trying for a baby since our 2nd anniversary. What his family didn't know was that we'd been facing fertility challenges. Real ones. The kind that required doctors, tests, and difficult conversations late at night. What Patricia definitely didn't know was that 2 months ago, everything had changed. But I hadn't told her. I hadn't told anyone except Derek and my doctor. Because 3 months ago, Patricia had crossed a line that changed everything. She'd invited Derek's ex-girlfriend Cassidy to a family gathering without telling me. The same Cassidy who conveniently mentioned she'd always wanted children. The dinner continued in uncomfortable silence. Patricia kept glancing at the envelope, her curiosity clearly eating at her. Franklin cleared his throat several times. Monica tried making small talk about her job at the marketing firm. Derek's younger brother Tony pretended to be fascinated by his phone. I finished my meal slowly, deliberately. Each bite was a small victory. When dessert arrived, Patricia finally cracked. "Well, aren't you going to tell us what's in the envelope?" she demanded. "I said you should read it later," I reminded her gently. "But since you're asking, I suppose now works too." She tore it open with shaking hands. Inside were 3 documents. The first was a letter from my fertility specialist. The second was an ultrasound image. The third was a legal document from my attorney. Patricia's face went white as she read, then red, then an interesting shade of purple. "This can't be real," she whispered. "Oh, it's very real," I confirmed. "Would you like to share with everyone?" Patricia's hands trembled as she held the papers. Derek leaned over to look, his eyes widening. "Jade," he said, his voice full of wonder, "are you?" 10 weeks pregnant, I confirmed, looking directly at Patricia. "With twins." The table erupted. Monica squealed and jumped up to hug me. Tony dropped his phone. Franklin stood up, a rare smile crossing his face, but Patricia just sat there, the papers falling from her hands. "Twins," she repeated numbly. "But you said, the doctors said." "The doctors said it would be difficult," I corrected. "Not impossible, there's a difference." Derek pulled me into his arms, his eyes wet. "Why didn't you tell me you were going to announce it like this?" "Because your mother needed to learn a lesson," I said quietly, loud enough for only him to hear. "About respect." He pulled back and looked at me, understanding dawning in his eyes. Then he turned to his mother. "Mom, I think you owe Jade an apology." Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "An apology for what?" "For 5 years of cruelty," I said, my voice still calm. "For every comment about my worth, for inviting Cassidy to family events, for telling Derek last month that he should consider his options." The room went silent again. Franklin's expression darkened. "Patricia, you did what?" "I was just concerned about Derek's happiness," Patricia stammered. "I wanted what's best for him." "What's best for me is my wife," Derek said firmly. "The woman I chose, the woman who's now carrying my children." I picked up the 3rd document from where Patricia had dropped it. "This is a letter from my attorney," I explained to the table. "It outlines boundaries for grandparent access. Given Patricia's treatment of me, Derek and I felt it necessary to establish clear expectations." Monica gasped. Tony whistled low. Franklin nodded slowly, as if he'd been expecting something like this. Patricia stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "You can't do this," Patricia said, her voice rising. Those are my grandchildren. I have rights. Actually, you don't, I replied, still seated. Grandparents have no legal rights to access in this state unless specific circumstances apply. My attorney made that very clear. Franklin spoke up for the first time. Patricia, sit down. Let's hear them out. She remained standing, but her defiance was crumbling. I could see the calculation in her eyes. I was realizing that she'd pushed too far this time. The boundaries are simple, Derek said, taking my hand. Respectful communication with Jade, no more cruel comments, no more undermining our marriage, and absolutely no more inviting my ex-girlfriends to family events. I thought Cassidy was just a friend, Patricia tried weakly. You told me you always hoped we'd get back together, Derek countered. You said it at Christmas. Monica heard you. Monica nodded reluctantly. She did, Mom. I told you to stop. Patricia sank back into her chair, defeat written across her face, but I wasn't finished. There's more you should know, I continued. 3 months ago, when you invited Cassidy to Derek's birthday dinner, I hired a private investigator. The color drained from Patricia's face again. You what? I needed to understand why you were so determined to break up our marriage, I explained. What I discovered was interesting. I pulled out my phone and opened a folder of documents. Cassidy's mother and you have been friends for 30 years. You've been planning for her and Derek to marry since they were teenagers. Even after they broke up in college, you stayed in contact with her family. Franklin leaned forward, his expression hard. Is this true, Patricia? She didn't answer. The investigator also discovered that you've been telling people in your social circle that Derek and I are separating. I continued. You've been positioning Cassidy as his future wife for months. I never, Patricia started, but Monica cut her off. Mom, I heard you tell Mrs. Henderson at the charity gala that Derek was reconsidering his marriage. I was standing right there. The evidence was mounting. Patricia looked around the table, finding no allies. I just wanted the best for our family, she said weakly. The best family you could show off to your friends, you mean, Derek said, his voice cold. Jade has a PhD in molecular biology. She's published research that's saving lives. But none of that mattered to you because she didn't fit your social circle. That's not fair, Patricia protested. It's completely fair, Franklin said quietly. I've watched you treat Jade poorly for years. I should have stopped it sooner. I'm sorry, Jade. His apology surprised me. Franklin had always been distant but never cruel. Thank you, I said. I appreciate that. Patricia looked at her husband in betrayal. Franklin, you're taking her side. I'm taking the side of human decency, he replied. The dinner ended shortly after. Monica hugged me again before leaving, whispering that she was proud of me. Tony gave me an awkward thumbs up. Franklin shook my hand formally and promised to talk to Patricia. Derek and I drove home in silence. Once inside our apartment, he finally spoke. You've been planning this for months. Since the birthday dinner, I confirmed. When I saw Cassidy there, saw your mother's satisfied smile, I knew I needed to protect us. The pregnancy, he said. When did you find out? 6 weeks ago. I wanted to wait until after the first trimester to tell anyone. But when your mother called yesterday demanding we come to dinner so she could make an important announcement, I knew what she was planning. Derek pulled me close. What was she planning? To announce that Cassidy was engaged to someone else and suggest that I'd wasted your best years. I heard her on the phone with Cassidy's mother confirming the plan. He closed his eyes. I'm so sorry. You have nothing to apologize for, I told Derek. Your mother's behavior isn't your fault. I should have stood up to her sooner, he said. I just kept hoping she'd change. People like Patricia don't change unless they're forced to, I replied. That's why I documented everything. The comments, the social manipulation, the attempts to break us up, all of it. Derek looked at me with new appreciation. You're brilliant. I'm a scientist, I said with a small smile. We believe in evidence. That night, as we lay in bed, Derek's hand rested on my still flat stomach. Twins, he whispered. I can't believe it. The fertility treatments worked, I said. Against the odds. Just like you planned the dinner against the odds, he observed. You knew exactly how she'd react. I had known. I'd studied Patricia's patterns for 5 years. I knew her need to control, her obsession with appearances, her fear of being excluded from important family moments. The next morning, my phone started buzzing early. Text messages from Patricia flooded in, each one more desperate than the last. Jade, we need to talk. I may have overreacted last night. Let's discuss this reasonably. Those are my grandchildren. You can't keep them from me. I forwarded each message to my attorney without responding. By noon, she'd called 17 times. Derek's phone was getting similar treatment. Should we answer? He asked. Not yet, I replied. Let her sit with the consequences for a while. My phone rang again, but this time it was Monica. I answered. Jade, Mom is losing her mind, Monica said. She called me at work crying. She's talking about hearing a lawyer. Let her, I replied calmly. My attorney anticipated that. There's no legal standing for what she wants. I know, Monica said. I just wanted to warn you. Also, I think what you did was amazing. Someone needed to stand up to her. 3 days passed. Patricia's messages shifted from demanding to pleading. Please let me explain. I made mistakes, I see that now. Don't punish the Bobbies for my errors. I'll do anything to be part of their lives. On Thursday, Franklin called Derek directly. Your mother wants to meet, he said. She's ready to apologize properly. Derek looked at me, I nodded. Saturday afternoon, I said into the phone. At a restaurant, public setting. Agreed, Franklin said. And Jade. Thank you for not giving up on this family. We chose a quiet cafe across town. Neutral ground. When Saturday came, Patricia arrived early, looking like she hadn't slept. Her usual perfect appearance was gone. Hair slightly disheveled, minimal makeup, clothes wrinkled. Derek and I arrived exactly on time. We sat across from her in a corner booth. She immediately launched into her prepared speech. I'm sorry. I was cruel and thoughtless. I let my own desires override what was best for Derek. I let Patricia finish her rehearsed apology. It was well crafted, hitting all the right emotional notes, but I'd spent 5 years learning to read her. That's a good start, I said when she finished. But words are easy. I need to see changed behavior. Patricia's hands twisted around her coffee cup. What do you want from me? Respect, I said simply. For me, for our marriage, for our choices. I can do that, she said quickly, too quickly. Can you? I pulled out my phone and opened a voice memo. This is from 2 weeks ago, your conversation with Cassidy's mother. I pressed play. Patricia's voice filled our quiet corner. Once Derek realizes what a mistake he made, we'll be ready. Cassidy has agreed to wait. Patricia's face went white. You recorded me. Your voice carries, I said calmly. You were on the phone in the garden during Easter dinner. The window was open. That was private, Patricia gasped. That was you plotting against my marriage, I corrected. Derek's jaw was tight. Mom, were you really planning to break us up even after you knew about the pregnancy? I didn't know then, Patricia stammered. This was before. 2 weeks ago, I reminded her. I was already pregnant, you just didn't know it yet. The truth hung heavy between us. Patricia had been actively working to destroy our marriage while I was carrying her grandchildren. I think we should leave, Derek said, starting to stand. Wait, Patricia said desperately. Please. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll apologize publicly, whatever you need. I studied her face. Fear and desperation warred with her pride. This was costing her everything to admit. Therapy is a good start, I said finally. For you individually, not family therapy, you need to work on why you need to control Derek's life. Okay, Patricia agreed immediately. What else? You'll respect our boundaries. No dropping by unannounced. No discussing our private life with your friends. No manipulation. I agree, Patricia said. But I wasn't finished. You'll apologize to me in front of the same people who heard you call me Barren at dinner. Her face flushed. That's humiliating. It was humiliating when you said it, Derek pointed out. This is the consequence. Patricia was silent for a long moment. I could see her calculating whether her pride was worth losing access to her grandchildren. Pride lost. I'll do it, she whispered. One more thing, I added. You'll write a letter to Cassidy explaining that Derek is happily married and you were wrong to involve her in your schemes. You'll apologize to her too. To Cassidy, Patricia looked confused. She went along with it willingly. Because you encouraged her, I said. You gave her false hope. That wasn't fair to her either. This seemed to genuinely surprise Patricia. She'd never considered that Cassidy was also a victim of her manipulation. I never thought about it that way, she admitted. Start thinking about it, Derek said firmly. Patricia agreed to all our terms. We scheduled the public apology for the following Sunday at Franklin's birthday celebration. She would have an audience of the same family and friends who'd witnessed her cruelty. The week passed slowly. I continued documenting everything in case Patricia changed her mind. My attorney advised me that we were building a strong case for enforcing boundaries if needed. Meanwhile, my pregnancy progressed smoothly. The morning sickness had passed, and I was starting to show slightly. Derek was attentive and excited, constantly reading parenting books. He also started standing up to his mother in small ways. When she called with demands, he calmly redirected her. When she tried to make plans without asking, he said no. It was like watching him reclaim himself. On Thursday, I received an unexpected visitor at my lab. Cassidy walked in during my lunch break. "I got Patricia's letter," she said without preamble. "I owed you an apology too." Cassidy sat across from me in the lab's small break room. She looked uncomfortable, like she'd rather be anywhere else. "I knew what Patricia was doing," she admitted. "I knew it was wrong, but I convinced myself that if Derek really loved you, nothing would break you up." "That's a convenient excuse," I said. "It is," she agreed. "I'm not proud of it. Patricia told me you couldn't have children. She said Derek was miserable. I believed what I wanted to believe." "And now?" I asked. "Now I see I was stupid," Cassidy said. "Derek never looked at me the way he looks at you. Even when we were dating, I just didn't want to see it." She stood to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I think you're brilliant. What you did at that dinner, that took guts. Patricia had it coming." After she left, I felt an unexpected emotion. Not satisfaction, but sadness. Cassidy had wasted years waiting for something that was never going to happen. Sunday arrived. Franklin's birthday party was held at the country club Patricia had belonged to for decades. The same people who'd witnessed her calling me Barren were all there. Monica greeted us at the door. "Mom's been practicing her apology all week," she whispered. "Dad made her write it down and memorize it." "Is she angry?" I asked. "Terrified," Monica corrected. "I've never seen her like this." The party proceeded normally at first. Dinner, cake, the usual socializing. Then Franklin stood up to make a toast. "Before we celebrate another year, there's something Patricia needs to say," he announced. The room quieted. Patricia stood slowly, her face pale. She looked at me, then at the assembled guests. "5 weeks ago at a family dinner, I said something cruel to my daughter-in-law, Jade," she began, her voice shaking. "I called her barren, I mocked her, I was wrong." You could hear a pin drop. Patricia continued, each word clearly costing her. "I've treated Jade poorly throughout her marriage to Derek. I've made her feel unwelcome in this family. I've undermined their relationship, all because she didn't fit the image I had in my head of who Derek should marry." She looked directly at me now. "Jade is brilliant, kind, and strong. She's exactly who Derek should have married, and I'm ashamed of how I've treated her." Tears were running down Patricia's face now. Real ones, not the calculated tears I'd seen her use before. "Jade is pregnant with twins, my grandchildren, and I nearly destroyed any chance of being in their lives because of my pride and my need to control." The room was completely silent. Several women were dabbing their eyes. "I'm going to therapy to work on why I behave this way," Patricia continued. "And I'm asking Jade publicly if she'll give me a chance to be a better person, a better mother-in-law, a better grandmother." Every eye in the room turned to me. This was the moment Patricia had been dreading. The moment where I could destroy her social standing completely by rejecting her apology publicly. I stood slowly, aware of the weight of the moment. "Patricia," I said clearly, "I accept your apology under the conditions we discussed." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "But I want everyone here to understand something," I continued, addressing the room. "What Patricia did wasn't just about me. It was about control. It was about putting image over relationships, and many of you encouraged it." Uncomfortable shifting around the room. "Some of you laughed when she made cruel comments. Some of you participated in her schemes, and that enabled her behavior." I looked at the faces around me. Women I'd smiled at politely for 5 years while they whispered about my childlessness. "I hope this teaches all of us something about how we treat people." I sat down. Franklin started clapping. Then Derek. Then Monica. Soon the whole room joined in. After the party, Patricia approached Derek and me privately. "Thank you for not destroying me completely," she said quietly. "I could have, you know that." "I know," she admitted. "Why didn't you?" "Because Derek loves you," I said simply. "And our children deserve a grandmother if she can be a good one." Patricia's eyes filled with tears again. "I'll prove I can be, I promise." Over the next months, Patricia kept her word. She attended therapy weekly. She stopped calling constantly, instead sending occasional thoughtful messages asking how I was feeling. She didn't drop by unannounced. She didn't offer unsolicited advice. She didn't discuss our pregnancy with her friends without permission. It was like watching a different person emerge. The controlling, manipulative woman was being replaced by someone more genuine. "Therapy is hard," she admitted one afternoon when she came for a scheduled visit. "I'm learning things about myself I don't like." My pregnancy progressed smoothly. At 20 weeks, we had the anatomy scan. Patricia asked if she could attend. I hesitated. Derek squeezed my hand supportively, leaving the choice to me. "You can come," I said finally, "but this is our moment. You're there to observe, not to take over." I understand, Patricia said. Thank you. At the appointment, Patricia sat quietly in the corner while the technician showed us our bobbies, two perfect little ones, both healthy. Do you want to know the genders? The technician asked. Derek and I looked at each other and nodded. One boy, one girl, she announced. Patricia gasped softly from her corner. When I glanced back, she had her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. But she didn't interrupt. She didn't make it about her. She just experienced the moment quietly. After the appointment, as we walked to our cars, Patricia hugged me for the first time in 5 years. Thank you for letting me be part of this. The bobbies arrived 2 weeks early, as twins often do. The labor was long but manageable. Derek never left my side. When they finally placed both bobbies in my arms, a boy and a girl, I felt complete. We named them Leo and Bella. Patricia wasn't at the hospital immediately. We'd asked for 24 hours alone as new parents, and she'd respected that. When she finally came to visit, she brought a simple arrangement of flowers and 2 handmade blankets. My mother made these for Derek and Monica when they were born, she said softly. I'd like Leo and Bella to have them. It was a peace offering, a family heirloom freely given without strings. They're beautiful, I said, accepting them. Thank you. Patricia held each baby briefly, her face soft with genuine love. Then she handed them back without being asked. I'll leave you to rest, she said. Call if you need anything. After she left, Derek looked at me in amazement. That's not the mother I grew up with. The first year of parenthood was exhausting and wonderful. Leo and Bella thrived. Patricia kept her promises. She helped when asked but didn't overwhelm us. She attended the therapy that had been part of our agreement. She even apologized to several family friends for her previous behavior. One afternoon, when the twins were about 8 months old, Patricia came for her weekly visit. She was different now, softer, more genuine. I need to tell you something, she said as we watched the bobbies play on their mat. That dinner when you handed me that envelope was the worst moment of my life. I know, I said, but it was also the best thing that ever happened to me, she continued. You forced me to look at myself, really look, and I hated what I saw. She wiped her eyes. I was so focused on controlling everything that I nearly lost my son, and I never would have known these perfect bobbies. 2 years after that fateful Sunday dinner, our family gathered again, this time for Leo and Bella's 2nd birthday party. The same people who had witnessed Patricia's cruelty now watched her play gently with her grandchildren. Cassidy was there too, with her new husband. She and I had developed an unexpected friendship. Franklin pulled me aside during the party. You saved our family, he said quietly. When you handed Patricia that envelope, you did what I should have done years ago. You held her accountable. I just wanted respect, I replied. You deserved it, he said, and you got it by being smart and strong. As I watched Patricia help Leo blow out his candles, I thought about that dinner 2 years ago. I'd walked in expecting another humiliating evening. Instead, I'd taken control of my own narrative. The woman who'd called me barren was now begging to babysit. The mother-in-law who'd tried to destroy my marriage was now in therapy learning to be better. And the grandchildren she'd assumed I could never give her were thriving. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's setting boundaries, demanding respect, and refusing to be diminished. And sometimes, if you're lucky, people actually change.